Hi, it's Mickey Dolenz here. You're listening to Inspirado Projecto.
What is going on? It is August 30th here, 2022. I just learned on TikTok how to find your natural voice. Let's see if I can talk in my natural voice. Apparently this is my natural voice. The way that you find it, is you sigh. And when you sigh, you just give out a little bit of breath at the same time. So you're like, check this out. You're like, so there you go. That's it. That's the natural voice. That's the natural voice. And you know what's so interesting? When you use the natural voice, you find yourself centered. You find yourself not anxious, not nervous about anything, not anticipating what might be around the corner. It's interesting as I dive into the reasons behind why I talk fast, staccato, maybe some of these things, maybe I'm solving some mysteries here. I think the reason why that probably was, first of all, I'm loud. I've heard people tell me I'm loud. I think this is in part by having a lot of tall friends growing up. Maybe also feeling it many times. My voice was not being heard. So therein breeds the Napoleon complex, perhaps. It stirs you up. And you start thinking, hold on a second, I got to catch up to everybody. And when you're not catching up to everybody, ooh, that's interesting. This is just popping up into my brain right now. I realize when you're in that mode of catching up to everybody all the time, when you're around others, when you used to go in those speeds and you're around others who are not going those speeds, because like a tall person, one of their steps equals maybe 3 of mine. It's like those little dogs. You see a little Chihuahua running alongside Great Dane. There's probably 35 little steps there that Chihuahua has to take before that Great Dane takes one step. So I think it's kind of like that. Being loud, saying what I have to say quickly before someone cuts in. Yeah, I could see that. When you look at the overcompensation, if you will, of one direction that you find yourself going in, this is what's popping up into my brain. This is wrapped up in some revelations that have happened to me throughout the years. But this idea that if you're going really full force in the one direction, really overcompensating, so to speak. Oh my gosh, this is great. This is such a good idea. Then what happens is follow that trail of where you're overcompensating. Go, what are the reasons why I'm flying so far in this direction? There's something on the other side that's sort of anchoring me there. That's allowing me to fly around in this particular orbit. What is it that's making me fly around in this particular orbit? And then we examine it and we go, is this an orbit that I enjoy floating around? And do I get bothered if someone calls me out for floating around in this orbit? Especially if it's an orbit that someone feels ashamed orbiting around. and then someone calls them out for being in that orbit, they don't like that. It's like there's this, it almost feels like there's this innate, in some occasions, this innate, what do you call it? Shame or dissatisfaction. What's immediately coming to mind is I'm thinking of like let's say Better Call Saul type stuff, Breaking Bad type stuff, Sopranos type stuff. These people who are entrenched in these dirty jobs. For instance, I started watching The Irishman. That's the most fresh one, actually, I'm pointing at. They call him the house painter. This guy's a hitman. And, just because he's good at a job does not mean that he really likes it, maybe. I think deep down inside there is suffering there. All right, so, oh no. Is this a funeral procession? Oh no. Are we dealing with a funeral procession here? We are. Oh no. Oh, I am so sorry. There's a hearse driving past. It says Dignity, and all these cars. Oh, there's police motorcades here. Wow, man. Incredible. Wow, man. There weren't that many people in that funeral. It's so interesting, right? Here I am talking about this idea of simultaneously, synchronistically, as I'm talking about the kinds of things that people are doing in their lives they may be ashamed about or they might not like and they don't like getting called out on. I mean, that is the surmise, all of that is what affects those who are in our orbit, how they think about us. I just saw this funeral procession go past, and there were maybe 7 cars. 7 cars. So that could mean any number of things. Maybe they don't have family out here, or their family is gone. Could mean that they didn't leave a very good effect on people. And maybe they just didn't have too many friends. Maybe there just aren't many people who know about the death. So when we're lying on that deathbed, are we going to be proud of ourselves for stomping out the competition? Are we going to be proud of ourselves for all the billions of dollars we made that we cannot spend? When you're at the end of the line, you start thinking back, how much of my life was spent living for others and how much of it was spent following my heart, my intuition. When you closely examine that stuff, it really kind of inspires you to really make sure that each moment you're living is something that's of value to you in some degree. Each thing, we're doing something because there is a value system attached to it, somewhere jingling around in the back of our brains. There's something there. What's the value? Oh, well, maybe I'm going along with this because I'm afraid of getting fired, or oh, maybe I'm going along with this because I'm afraid of her leaving me, or maybe I'm going along with this because I don't want to lose my apartment. Whatever the thing is, at some point, the dam breaks. All that pressure of not being able to live life your way, that pressure builds up, and it has to come out somehow. So I believe by coming out here and walking around in nature, It's giving me far more ideas than I would have gotten. Varied ideas that I would not have gotten if I was just sitting in my house. And if we are to play along with that idea that every single heart communicates with each other, and it creates this electromagnetic field, and that's why it's so powerful when groups of people come together meditating for peace and love and harmony. All these hearts, they become these amplified antennae. Next thing you know, you start seeing miracles happening. So it makes sense that you get all these ideas, from walking around in nature, walking around other humans. You're walking through their thought clouds. You're walking through the paradigm, the bubble that is encompassing them. If you look around at everybody as if they've got a little bubble around them, it becomes easier to realize that each and every single person is, in fact, living in their own reality, chosen reality paradigm, consciousness, etc., and so forth. They're carrying the ecosystem wherever they go. What's that precipitation, you wonder? What is being precipitated over there? What is that? Is it harmonic? Is it a delightful magnetization? Wow. There's this affirmation. There are a few of these that I read every once in a while that I've heard through TikTok and otherwise. Here's one. It's something good to say out loud to yourself now and again. When we think about parallel realities and other versions of ourselves coexisting right now in a different parallel reality. Each thought, each choice, each intention is a move towards that the manifestation, the incarnation of that specific chosen reality. All right, so here it goes. I have a lavish, steady, dependable income, consistent with integrity and mutual benefit. Go ahead and rewind that. Go ahead and listen to that again. You want to go back and rewind it? Go listen to it again. So that's a good one, isn't it? Here's another good one. I am living in the timeline of my deepest desires, highest excitements, and fullest potential. You want to rewind that? Listen to that again. And then, of course, there are the things that you say at the end of the Bashar transformative shifting cube exercise. It's powerful, I'm telling you. The past week I picked it back up again. Wowzers, tons of synchronicities have been blipping my antenna all over the place. I have right now, backed up on my phone, just from Yachtly Crew touring, 4 hours of recorded stuff. This is not split up among episodes by any means. There is just that much information. One of them has an hour's worth of segments on it. The other has 3 hours of segments on it. And rather than, it all started as a mistake. That's just kind of how this app works sometimes. It started as a mistake. And I was too lazy to move the segment into its very own, long story. Anyway, here we are. So I figured, well, instead of feeling the pressure of having to go back through all of that information, sifting it through and trying to figure out the nuggets. Thought I'd just start anew. Keep this momentum going. I'll be making a Fiverr and interviewing people. As you know, Inspirado Projecto reaches out to iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, all over the place. Breaker, Streaker, I think it's called Stitcher, Overcast, all kinds of places. So yes, I think I'm going to start, and plus so many more places. I'll let you know when I get that Fiverr account up, in case you decide that you've got a story that you want to tell, and you want to be interviewed. Let me know. We'll talk more later. Thank you for listening to Inspirado Projecto.
Here's your fun fact. Dogs are about as smart as a 2 or 3-year-old child. This means they can understand about 150 to 200 words, including signals and hand movements with the same meaning as words. Stay tuned to Inspirado Projecto for more fun facts.
Oh yes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course. Wow, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm recording this right now. Astounding. I just exited the Iliad bookstore. They are just such a great bookstore. Henry the Red, if you remember, Army of Darkness. There's a part in there with this red-bearded, red-haired fella. Comes back and helps Ash, Bruce Campbell's character. He helps him out with some shenanigans, battling the Deadites. So, Henry the Red, I actually had him sign my DVD copy of Army of Darkness. He works there. And I just picked up this book, The Alchemist. That's what I was on my way there to do. There's this... I meet so many extraordinary people through Yachtly Crew. And I had these huge synchronicities concerning Hawaii, or shall I say Hawaii. And it started with me meeting a woman named Kristen at a show, and it turns out she's from Hawaii. So I was asking her just grilling her a bunch of questions about that. And then I end up finding out my friend Mary has a huge obsession with Hawaii. And then I end up finding out that this other woman, Tony, she is in Hawaii right now. So then I end up finding out that my roommate, Jamie, he went to Hawaii and he loved it out there. And he suggested, and so did Kristen, because I asked her where would be the best place, where could I find waterfalls? She said Kauai. And Kauai is the place that Jamie said that he went to, that he loved. So ever since I was a little kid, Hawaii has been a big dream. It's been in my brain ever since Fantasy Island. I think I was telling you, Fantasy Island I wanted so bad to be a real place. I wanted so bad for that to be a real place. And I imagine that it most likely resides in Hawaii. So that's always been in the back of my brain, thinking about going there and visiting Fantasy Island. I would really like to, when I go there, oh, and this is the other interesting thing. So, so there's a story with my sister Jenny and I hiking up in these, up in this area, and I brought my Salvador Dali mask with the intention of shooting some experimental video. And so I had this mask with me. Jenny and I were walking, and then we ended up coming up into this, resting spot for people. And sitting there is a girl who goes by the name Euphoria on Instagram. We were talking, and she goes, "Wow, you have a Salvador Dali mask. I have a Salvador Dali tattoo. He's my favorite artist." And all of a sudden, she pulls up her leg, and there's a tattoo of Salvador Dali. And I was like, this is incredible. This is something to pay attention to. And then all of a sudden, I'm asking her, oh, how do you know your buddy? How do you two know each other? Oh, I met him in Hawaii. And so it turns out that he just happened to be in town for a layover. So she thought, well, let's hang out while you're here. I said, what's your name? And he says, Scruffy. I said, oh my God, of course your name is Scruffy. I said, because I grew up with a kid who probably started getting facial hair when he was like in 4th grade. This kid was Scruffy. We call him Scruffy behind his back. That was his nickname. He kind of looked like Brad Pitt. But imagine, a 4th grader with facial hair. So, this kid's name was Scruffy. So there's this spirit animal, from the past. Salvador Dali is there with us. So I started asking him about if he's seen UFOs. And he said yes. And he was telling me these stories of how he would see UFOs fly down into the water and go under the water. He was on he was hanging out with his buddies out by the beach, and he saw it up in the sky. And then it came down through the sky, and out of the sky, bam, into the ocean, went underneath. And it was interesting because about a week later, that's when it hit the news that a blue UFO was seen plummeting into the ocean. So I was asking him all about the folklore, something called the mini Hawana or something. Kristen was telling me about this. He was saying that he feels that he encountered them at one time. He said you don't really want to be out in nature in the darkness. You don't want to disturb these creatures. And he said one time it was late at night. I think he had like a campfire going or something with his buddies. And you heard this like, kind of like laughing off into the, off to the side. And it freaked him out, as one can imagine. So he and his buddies got out of there. And I asked Kristen about this. I said, can you confirm this? She goes, oh, well, when we're at a very young age, our parents would tell us about them and just say, don't, the mini Juanas don't want you messing up their nature, so just be kind be kind. And so everyone's brought up with this reverence towards the land. Do you live in Hawaii? Have you ever been to Hawaii? You probably know a lot more than I do. However, when I go to Hawaii, I want to learn from the wisest person they can bring me to. You know, someone who either studies that stuff or has experiences with seeing these creatures, or you know, has fables, if you will, from stories handed down. I want to investigate that. I want to hear these stories. I want to interview these folks. So Hawaii has really been on my brain lately. And so Kristen, she and I got to talking, and I found out that she was a book reader. So we were going down a rabbit hole. I was telling her what book I was reading. I just finished Far Journeys. And she told me the various books she was reading, and that she's coming up to the end of her latest book. And if I had any suggestions, and I suggested The Alchemist, Celestine Prophecy, Four Agreements, Power of Intention, Convoluted Universe books. I said, these are all, you know, spirituality. She goes, which one would be the best? First one. And I suggested The Alchemist because it's an engaging read. It teaches you about keeping your ears open. See, there was that raven. I don't know if that might be the same raven that has made guest appearances on other episodes. So I suggested to her The Alchemist because throughout the book there's as the story unfolds, the main character is doing these things that he doesn't really necessarily want to be doing. However, while he's in the midst of these things, other magical things occur. And they only occurred as the result of him being in those places at that specific time. On the sidewalk, I'm passing by some sidewalk chalk drawings. There's a person, there's a rainbow, there's a sort of a smiley face. Let's see, there's a message here. I've something today to Yule, a good... What's this one say? It's a little scrubbed, if you will. So I thought I had The Alchemist on my bookshelf, and I didn't. She picked up Alchemist. So I'll be reading before I started talking to Kristen, my next book, and it still is Backwards and Forwards, which actually, interestingly enough, is around the same size as this. I started reading that, and I'm going to read this at the same time. Backwards and Forwards is a phenomenal script analysis book for plays, stage plays. For anyone who's a director, a writer, actor, it helps you to see how each action leads to the next action. They call it the trigger and heap method. So bam, this thing led to that thing, which then starts a whole nother, starting point from there, like given the baton. Hello.
Hey, how are you, man?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Poor fella has crutches. Tearing down this house. Man, everywhere. Tearing down houses and putting up these apartment complexes. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. So that's why I went up to the Iliad to pick up a copy of The Alchemist so I can discuss this with her. And, well, first of all, gain a new, I think maybe this will be the third time I've read it. As you well know, with any good book or good movie, it matures with age, because you mature with age. You've learned a lot more than you knew before. You have various perspectives you did not have on that first go-around. And so now you can appreciate it from a different angle, almost as if you're seeing a whole new movie. This, to me, is a great example of that shift we were talking about earlier. Ooh, look at that. The horn just went off right when I said that. That shift we were talking about earlier of parallel realities, of realities just existing unto themselves in that particular person's perspective. Jamie and I were talking about how he when he would direct, he would sometimes have the actors switch the roles and read things from the other perspective so they can get a better understanding as to why their own character might be doing the things that they're doing. It really is a wonderful exercise that, if we were to apply that idea just in humanity as we know it, is very similar to that aspect of putting yourself in someone else's shoes, seeing it from their perspective. Is that type of thing. So, in those moments where these people are switching their roles and listening to maybe what their character wants, needs, is trying to do, helps them understand it easier and go, aha. That's why they say hindsight is 20/20. You're now able to look back from this perspective outside of yourself. And we always talk about this. This falls right in line, of course, with what Einstein says, is that you cannot solve a problem within the problem. You have to be on the outside of it in order to see what's going on. I guess that type of education requires the willingness, the consent to detaching from one's crystallized identity, so to speak. In order to see those perspectives, you have to allow yourself to unplug from that ego identity and just look at it. What is this character doing? Why is this character saying this? Why does this character have such a strong anchor to this particular thing? There's a guy who just got out of his van and he's taking pictures of places. He's wearing an orange vest, but no indication as to where he works or what he's doing. I'm gonna ask him. What's your company? What are you doing out here? Who are you taking pictures for? Why are you taking pictures of my apartment complex? Yeah, why are you taking pictures of that?
What?
My friend lives in there. Why are you taking pictures of their apartment?
No, I'm package.
Huh?
I'm package. Food package.
Oh, package. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right. You know, I've been hearing a lot on this Nextdoor app. there are people just kind of taking pictures around these apartment complexes, and then their places are getting broken into, and so I thought, well, heck, let's make sure that if we see these people in nondescript vans with orange vests on, why not ask them, what are you doing here? It's interesting when people feel betrayed by the outside forces. A lot of their immediate reactions are to implode upon themselves and the ones that had nothing to do with their situation. Burglaries, all that jazz, instead of turning it towards, okay, how can we work together? This is the time to band together. They'd rather turn into these savages who enter people's homes at night and steal their stuff. It's an unfortunate thing, however, simultaneously, I'm putting out the vibe that there is a parallel world out there where this type of stuff is not happening, where harmony is fully flowing, and people are treating each other with respect, doing exactly what they love doing, feeling no need to go outside and steal from others because they're satisfied with their own lives. They're satisfied with reaching their goals. They're satisfied with the people who are around them, who are encouraging them to be the best version of themselves. All right, I am back. I'm here in the air conditioning. And we shall talk more later.
Danger zone. Danger zone.
Gonna take you
Danger
high
zone.
to the
Off.
danger zone.
Danger zone. No, just 3
Highway
times. Just
to
3 times.
the
Danger
danger
zone.
zone.
Danger zone.
Highway
Danger zone.
to the danger zone. Inspirado, Projecto Radio. This is Man and Mr. Man behind the machine. Right, man? Say hi, Mr. Man. Say hi, Mr. Inspirado.
Hey.
Hi.
Oh, you guys, you have nailed it. You have nailed it. You are carpenters of this musical experience. I hope you give yourselves a pat on the back. Stick an award on your chest. And proclaim to everyone in your neighborhood that you are the new soundtrack artists of the county. For hire, baby, for hire. Father and son, dynamic duo, for hire. You know what? Some of these ideas are just so crazy. They're so crazy they just might work. Thank you so much for calling in. Oh my gosh. It feels so good to be moments away from releasing this episode here. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution.
Hey, Kurt, just wanted to thank you for your episodes. My husband and I enjoyed the one where you were enjoying your food with your band member and learning about the cornbread and honey and the beer float and all that. And then your last episode had really given me the confidence to, we're going and having a small party of our own with our friends over here. And in-person reaction is really important, and in-person interaction. So thanks again for everything and all that you do, and I'm really looking forward to your next episode. Take care. Hope you're having a good summer.
Jessica, you sent this to me July 8th, I believe. And you titled this Art is Life reality show. I love it. I love it. That is such an appropriate title for a message like this. You know, I frequently think of this podcast as like sending out the SOS, putting the messages in the bottles, sending out the messages on the carrier pigeons. Let's see who picks it up. And I'm astonished, Jessica, that you're listening to this. Where are you at? What part of the country? Man behind the machine, Maria Humphreys, the Foxes over at Awesome Sauce Radio and Cannabis Conundrum. We live on a planet. So many wonderful, wonderful people who listen to this show. Pauly Shores from Yachtly Crew. Tara Reed, she sometimes listens. My family sometimes listens. And I have a feeling this is going to catch you right on that day when you just so happen to be listening. I've been diving deep. This one particular art project has beamed its way to my antennae. And so that started this whole ball rolling, like basically the whole past month. Most of it I've been out here on the balcony. I started working on this one particular project, and then all of a sudden it became this, like, you know, I got like 17 paintings around me on the balcony now. I'm just sitting out here night all day long. The freshness, the sun is about to go down right now. I've been getting into the habit of walking outside without sunglasses on, and if I wear sunglasses, I wear them inside to protect my eyes from the fluorescent lights of the grocery store. My eyes need the vitamin D from the sun, so I shall continue to keep my eyes open. Squinted. You know, one of the things that I used to do growing up was I found that if I squinted one eye, I could keep the other eye open and see fine. So I would alternate squinting one eye, leaving the other open, squinting the one eye. And that would enable me to leave one eye fully open, believe it or not. But then it would happen where I'd try to open up both eyes wide, and then it just, talk about eyes wide shut. I open them wide. Oh, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, look up the connections between Eyes Wide Shut and Larry Celone. C-E-L-O-N-E. Larry C-E-L-O-N-E. This is a really deep rabbit hole. I'm curious what you find. Should you decide to follow the clues? I would say use DuckDuckGo instead of the other ones. There's also a website called Gibiru, Gibiru.com, Gibiru.com. There's another one called Yandex, Yandex.com, Yandex.com. These are all supposedly private search engines. So thank you, Jessica. These are the carrier pigeons. Today is the 6th September. So, you know, I sent out these messages in bottles, the carrier pigeons, they sent out the Morse code. I scream out the yodels and I hear the echoes. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Tara Reid, Pauly Shores, Josh Glendenin, John Garside, the Foxes at Awesome Sauce Radio and Cannabis Conundrum. Oh, this wonderful Ramsey. Is that your last name, sir? Captain? At the Yachtly Crew Show. He said he listens. If you're listening, sir, I salute you. Ramsey, right? Ramsey. Ramsey, ah, la, 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 la. So thank you, Jessica, for getting a kick out of the conversation between Pauly Shores and I. I like to try to catch these little adventures whenever I can. And I'm so happy to hear that you get a kick out of this. I believe that might be the same raven that I've been talking about. So, yeah, that could be the same raven. Things are coming to a close on the Dos Lagos Film Fest. We stopped accepting submissions today, September 6th. Oh, wait, yesterday? Is that today? No, today's the 8th. Wait, yes, today. It's Dave Uchansky's mom's birthday. God bless her, God rest her. She passed during quarantine. Dave is a good guy, Dave Uchansky. He was in Max Neptune and the Menacing Squid with me, and ever since I've included him, we've collaborated on things. So, thank you, Jessica. It's been a while. Thank you for hanging in there. It's been said, like John Garside, who did Max Neptune. He used to work for work for the city of Whittier. He was their he would handle their city councils meetings. He would record them. He would do all kinds of stuff. Why was I talking about John Garside? You know, it's so funny. Sometimes when I'm talking, I'm just staring out at the mountains out here. Yeah, man. I just stare out at the mountains. I get lost in translation. By the way, I'm rereading The Alchemist. If you get a chance, read The Alchemist. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. Please, if you got any ideas, Jessica, any ideas you want me to explore, please. Oh, Maria Humphreys, also. She listens to Inspirado Projecto. Did I mention we live on a planet? I'm trying to think, who else? I see the stats. It explodes my brain. There are these tiny towns in Iceland, little areas in the nooks and crannies of the Nile River. Someone in these locations is listening to this. I want to hear your stories, just like Jessica, just like Man Behind the Machine. Now, since I brought up Maria Humphreys, well, we'll have her close out the show. How about that? We got more stuff on the way. Thanks for listening. Thank you. The time is now 2:47 p.m. Today is, in fact, the 6th of September. Look how fast that happened already, huh? In a few days, we'll be playing at Music Box in San Diego. I'm on my way up to the bank right now to get that rent situation figured out. In the meantime, I've been working on a new short film. It's probably going to be about 6 minutes. It's probably going to be about 6 minutes total. Right now, I'm making the credits for this thing, and I plan on playing at Dos Lagos. So, we'll see. We'll see how it happens, how it all works out. I think we've gotten some good submissions, and just a lot of returning people, actually, from other kapows. Noticing some filmmakers who have been very diligent and prolific through the years in making projects. There are these wonderful folks out in Baltimore. Is it Baltimore? No. What is it? Boston? One of those B places. Massachusetts. Massachusetts. They're out in Massachusetts. And they're called Smoking Bottle Entertainment. And he uses the same actors. There are just pages. This is crazy. There are pages of old drawings. Must be concept art. For the Police Academy cartoon. Pages just strewn about. We'll talk more about that when I return from the bank. Where else in the world would you find concept art pages for an animation? Where else in the world would you find that? But the town of Hollyweird. When you see stuff like that, you can't help but wonder, what's the moment before? Who brought it there? Who was inspired to just leave that sitting there? Who's the person who drew it? That's the other question. Asking yourself, who is the one that put these plans into motion? The other question is, did that art make its way into the final cartoon? I cannot say that I fully watched. Maybe I've seen pieces of that cartoon. When I first visited out here, I remember seeing all kinds of different things being shot all over. Commercial here, TV show there, movie here. So then when I really got ensconced into California, I decided to sign up for something called central casting. And you'll hear about central casting a lot. In the industry, they joke about it a lot. Central casting is where you find all of your background talent. It's where you find the atmosphere, as they call it, background artists, the cocktail servers, the stadium seat bench warmers. They pay seat fillers to sit in at the Grammy Awards, the Academy Awards, places like that. Did you know that? They pay people to sit in those seats. Growing up, when I'd watch those, I automatically thought, these are buildings filled with celebrities. Look at all the celebrities. I remember looking at that going, wow, all the singers. All, let's say, for instance, the Grammy Awards. And you're just looking at the people sitting in the audiences. Most of those people are paid to sit there. Because it's got to look filled out for the cameras. It can't look sparse. So there are people who do this professionally. You'll meet them. Some of them you see time and time again in other movies. There's this short, chubby kid, red hair, pink cheeks, freckles. He was in Old School. I remember seeing that kid around when I did a lot of extra work. I'd see him around. Everybody would congratulate him. All the extras would be able to see their own friends in movies. It was just a lot of fun. It was like a little Easter egg. And they'd have you show up to set. And they'd say, you cannot wear, the main characters are wearing yellow and blue. Do not wear yellow or blue. Wear something muted. They like saying the words muted a lot. Muted colors. Muted colors. I think that's the opposite of vibrant, maybe? Muted. We want to see, it's okay if you wear red. Muted red. When I think of that, I think of like someone putting like a gray filter on something. In comes the mute. In comes the mutation filter. Anyway, I'm at the bank right now. I will talk to you more later. Thanks for listening to Inspirado Projecto. All right, we just got that taken care of now. And just want to say, if you find yourself down in the dumps, I would, pardon me, it's interesting how you come across things like this out in the wild. You'll see someone with their back to you, and they're taken up just kind of in the middle of the sidewalk, and you have to make a decision right then and there. Am I going to move off to the one side or off to the other side? And I thought that by me talking into the podcast, maybe in the back of her brain, in her back of this person's ear, she would have heard me walking up and would not have walked towards the direction where the sound was, but away from. But what do you know? You never know. You never know what kind of senses someone is open up to, right? So I find myself if I'm at the grocery store on the sidewalk, I find myself moving very slowly near them. If it looks like they can't make a decision, I stand about 8 or 9 feet away from their ad. If I see them walking towards me on the sidewalk and they're just not going to budge, and they can't use the other openness of a sidewalk, I just stand still. If it looks like they're going to walk at me and they want me to move out of my way, that's just not going to be happening. Particularly if I've given them plenty of notice that I've moved to the other side of the sidewalk to accommodate them. And then they insist on walking at me, I stop in my tracks and I let them crash into me. It's an awareness test. Let's call it that. It's an awareness test. So, if you find yourself uninspired, down in the dumps, not feeling good, as in the famous words of The Who, I have a remedy. You too? The remedy is thinking back when you were a kid, and what were those excitements? What really brought you joy? What came to you easily and effortlessly? What were those things that you loved doing so much? And then someone came along and ruined it for you. Someone came along who claimed that they knew better than you, or that they, they were an expert on a particular thing. Claimed that they had all the accolades, the awards. And so someone long ago might have stomped on you with that kind of mentality. And as a result, it's possible that throughout these years that phantom has been sort of a hovering, kind of this hovering, it's just there. It's just been there. Kind of monitoring your decisions as to whether you're going to draw this thing, or whether you're going to play this song, or whether you're going to sculpt that thing, or do that sidewalk chalk, or what have you. So then that gets carried around. So I would suggest this. Go back to those times. In fact, actually, maybe even to those times when you heard that, when you remember those times, go back to the time, remember it in your brain, and do that thing, break the spell. You got to break the spell. It's like -1 + 1. Cancels it out. So that's what must be done. Anthony Robbins calls that anchoring. You got to anchor a different feeling to that. So, because you got to think, are those bullies, are those teachers, are those know-it-alls anywhere to be found right now? What are they doing so special with their lives? But most importantly, why am I worried about what their opinions are concerning how I am living my own personal legend? You know? That should have no bearing. I'm rereading The Alchemist, which is a phenomenal book. And it talks a lot about personal legends. And the idea of following the omens, following the signs. It's always great when you see people reaffirming things that you've thought about or talked about. I recently saw a TikTok that completely reaffirms things that we've talked about on this podcast. The idea of watching for the language of the universe, keeping your eyes open for the omens, the signs. In what ways is the universe speaking to me? In what ways is my bigger self, so to speak, my higher mind, speaking to me? Well, that's through the synchronicities. We talked about that. Dreams. Lots of ideas. These are those things. And as I find myself tuning in more into that and making my lists, crossing them off, and it feels good, and I make those mental notes as to how the dominoes fell in order to make this thing work, just astonishes me. All right, we're back at the equipment now. I think I'm going to add some giblets into this and then release it, which then, as I've told you, I've got like 3 hours stockpiled that I have to change into other that I have to put these segments into their own episodes. I have to like arrange them. So, by the way, this particular sheet, this character sheet for Police Academy, the series, this photocopy is from 1988. Okay, so someone had these, right? One of these it says size comparison. It shows like a police guy next to the police car, who I think is supposed to be the Gutenberg character. Then there's this one, which might be the like the Tackleberry character. Sweet Chuck, it says. And so he's dressed up in his little thing here. So they're pointing at his hat, at his badge on his hat. It says Academy Gold, Reflection Gray, Brim Blue, Peach, Academy Blue, Reflection Gray, Academy Gold, Gunmetal Gray, Walnut Grip, Peach, Leather Gray, Tortoise Shell, Leather Gray. So they're pointing at various parts of his body and saying this is what we want that color to be. Incredible. 1988, Warner Brothers Inc., all rights reserved. Somehow this made it out into the populace. Isn't that crazy? So I think once I release this episode, then that'll inspire me to dive back in, get all the other episodes rocking and rolling. Sometimes when I'm on a roll and I'm on a deep dive, I got to just give full commitment to what that thing is before I go back to the other things that have been marinating for a little bit. So, there you have it. Thanks for listening to Inspirado Projecto.
You are now entering the Twilight Zone. Okay, so seriously, Saturday night, late, I check my Instagram account and I see Awesome Sauce Radio live. So I click on the button and I see Yachtly Crew playing. And I realize the Desert Fox and Foxy Lady are actually in the audience at a Yachtly Crew concert. You cannot even imagine my joy. And, all right, I'll admit it, I was jealous. But it was so weird. It was such a synchronicity, Kurt. Oh, my goodness. It was so much fun. I actually watched you guys through Tammy's eyes on her phone.
Maria, you know what's so funny? I just now saw this message from you. Today is the the 6th, by the way, September 6th. I just now saw this message from you. I was flipping out. The fact that I was able to combine forces with Foxy Lady and Desert Fox at the Marquee Theater in Arizona just blew my mind. And we bonded on how much we love your podcast. You were there with us in spirit. And I think next time that happens, I just might have to FaceTime you. And or just record it. Record it. So that becomes an anchor episode. By the way, I have, I think, 3 episodes with the Foxes, F-A-W-K-E-S. Fox is F-A-W-K-E-S-E-S. Foxes. So they were in a couple of the episodes, which I extended because these were long conversations that we had before the Marquee, after the Marquee, and then after the Marquee again, I think, outside of the hotel. So I look forward to seeing you again, Maria, and I foresee in the future that we will all be at the same place at the same time. Heck, who knows? Maybe when Yachtly Crew plays the Las Vegas Palms show, then we can all meet there. Wouldn't that be cool? It'd be a podcasting phenom. Anyway, it was so good talking to you. Take care.
This is Robert from Twin Peaks, and you're listening to Inspirado, Projecto. Got a light?
It's a face palm, a balm of calm, like a napalm bomb. It's a face palm, crumbly malm of loamy alms. And how soon do you think you to do it again? It's a face palm, here it come, alms playing Brahms on prom. And how soon do you think you to do it again? Have the Holmes from Guam to the cable comes. Are the Rom diatoms glom in their moms? It's a face palm, the book of psalms and rhymes and rhymes. And how soon do you think you'll do it